to end, you need, well, somebody like these guys, a Ravaglia, or maybe a Soper, or somebody like that who knows what it's like as a driver and who'd be respected by the drivers for having that knowledge to be then enforcing proper team strategy, and that goes right from the start. So getting ready then for the start of race 100 of the World Touring Car Championship. The cars are formed up on the grid. Diego Puyo will start at the very back. At the very front is the BMW of Augusto Farfus. 5 red lights go on, and when they go off, we will be racing. Away they go. Good start from Farfus, slow from Janae. Can Nicola Larini in the Chevrolet take advantage? The BMWs outside of the top 8 will surge down to the first corner, but it is very narrow indeed. Farfus leads. Second place, Rydell. Third is Janae. One of the Chevrolets gets shoved a little wide. That'll be Larini with Ivan Muller going through. So Seat, second, third, fourth and fifth. And the BMWs have got a lot of work to do from behind. Andy Prio starting now. Jörg Muller right behind him. And this time, if Prio gets his nose inside somebody, Muller should shuttle right through. Farfus must win this race then. He must mark the centenary of the World Touring Car Championship races with victory. Tom Coronel smoking heavily from behind. Now, is that tyre smoke? It certainly looks like it. Let's hope so, otherwise he's laying oil like the battleship Potemkin. But Tom Coronel in real trouble. He's been hit from behind clearly in the opening going. He's behind Franks Engstler for a start, who should have been way behind him. So Coronel's had real problems. Farfus leads, Seat second, third, fourth and fifth. Then Larini and Menu. Larini rather and Huff. Menu's right at the back. And behind Huff, the last of the Seats will be not Thiago Montero. Montero's behind Janae. So is that Tarquini that got left out at the back? Second is Rydell. Montero having a little look. Yes, Tarquini got stranded behind the Chevys. Ivan Muller again making his move early and forcefully. Climbing uphill to this right-handed T-junction. Very tricky. Road really drifts away through the corner and on the exit. But they all handle it nicely. Huff, Tarquini. Right, getting a very strange set of stats on our timing screens of the race order that says Huff leads from Tarquini and Prio. That's clearly not the case. That's picking up the cars from about 7th place down. Behind Tarquini and Prio is Jörg Muller. Stefano Dasti going through the cement dust laid down after a car caught fire in the last support race. So it is Farfus that leads then. Rydell, Janae, Montero and Ivan Muller ahead of Larini and Huff in that order. Tarquini is in 8th, Prio and Jörg Muller still 9th and 10th as they were at the start of the race. No advantage gained from the standing start of the BMW. On board with Thiago Montero, 4th place in race 1. He's in 4th place now. Can he get onto the podium here at home? He'll have to get by Jordi Janae, and that is not going to be easy. Oh, and Thiago has a go there. Janae a little slow in. Thiago ran into the back of him. I don't think that was an overtaking manoeuvre, but here comes Ivan Muller, and Ivan will be allowed to pass, surely, if he gets alongside Thiago Montero. Well, he's going to have to make it absolutely clear, but he's got the run on Montero. Montero's going to have to give him the position, and he will do. He'll duck in behind, and I would not be surprised to see Ivan Muller in front of Janae also before the end of the lap. Ivan is in real carve-through mode. Well, there is his boss of his car, the Orica team that runs Montero and Muller, run by Hugues de Schonack. He runs those two cars in the Seat Sport operation. The other 3 run by the Spanish mechanics. Let's have a look again at the start. What are we seeing? Well, slow getaway by Okay, Coronel again very, very slow off the line, as he was in race 1. In fact, it was Coronel's lack of speed off the line that triggered the first lap shunt in race 1. Good start from Thiago Montero, though. Got well ahead of Nicola Larini, who was the man in the Chevrolet in front of him. Larini gets bounced out on the outside as Ivan Muller goes through, and that, handily for Ivan, shuts the door for Gabriele Tarquini right behind, because there are 2 Chevys wheel to wheel, and Tarquini's on the outside of us there as we rode round with Huff. And from Montero's viewpoint, makes the mistake, gets into the back of Janae, and that leaves him dead in the water for Ivan Muller. Back with live pictures. Farfus out of turn 4 for the second lap. Rydell still in second place. So here we go, back at the chicane, end of lap 2. Rydell 1.2 seconds behind. Genet in third, Muller in fourth ahead of Montero. Genet with the dark colours on his Seat, the Repsol colours of the Spanish driver. Or considerably more Repsol coloured than his teammates, and still behind, status quo remains. No other positions change. Felix Portera there, second in the independents category, ahead of Christian Poulsen in the first of the liquid moly BMWs. And is there a change between the Seat and the Chevrolets? Yes, Huff went by Larini and Tarquini's out. Tarquini tried to go inside Nicola Larini. Larini's mistake, or his helping hand there to Rob Huff to allow Huffy to go by him. Let's see how it shapes up. Does Nicola allow? I think Nicola allowed Huffy to go through. Tarquini got his nose inside the door. Nicola was not very keen on letting Gabrielli stay there. Contact between them. Yeah, I think Larini lay on the grenade there, allowed Huff to go through. Tarquini trying to go through the half-open door, and that, I'm afraid, is likely to bring out a safety car, because Miki Banani, who's having a really troubled weekend, 18th place, also spinning out there. Tarquini's car is damaged. Banani's was damaged in race 1. Don't forget, Tarquini's second in the championship. This could not be working better for Ivan Muller if he tried. Oh, and Banani trying to go around the outside. Oh my goodness me! Tom Boardman clipped him absolutely in the wheel. Well, Banani's car is going nowhere. Boardman's, I think, will also be on the side of the track somewhere. Safety car is being scrambled. Safety car boards and flags are being shown. Whammo. Well, Banani trying to get around Tarquini, understandably, but that was a pretty random piece of rejoining. He must have known that he was not last in the queue. I'm afraid he's probably taken Boardman out of the race with him. Haven't seen Boardman's car yet. Be surprised if it withstood that attack. No, there it is. He's got as far as corner 4. Maybe Banani, that was a big hit. That's the second big impact he's had in this race weekend. So he'll be ruining the idea of coming to Porto. Farfus leads then, and the safety car will pick him up. Ricard Rydell in second place behind the Brazilian. The gap down from 1.5 seconds to nothing now. So the Lada Priora safety car picks up our race leader, Augusto Farfus. There's Kathy Muller, the team boss of Extragon Engineering. Now Banani goes around the outside, overshoots here trying to avoid the accident. And again, oof, dear oh dear, big old impact. Well, he should not have been trying to rejoin at that stage, I'm afraid. There was no clear way through. For the Moroccan driver, that was a pretty fundamental error. And that's Tarquini's view of him bouncing up in the air from his rear-mounted camera as he got inside Nicola Larini, and there was not room for them to go through. Oh dear, this isn't going to be clever, is it? Off! Just out of shot. Kathy Muller is an ex-racer herself. Know exactly what was going wrong there. Sergio Hernandez, one of our first race victims. Big shunt on his car. And the mechanics were telling me earlier that the car is likely to need a new shell. They say it's pretty much guaranteed. Hit basically the end of the concrete wall just by the exit of the pit lane, knocked the angled barrier back and then ploughed straight on into the end of a long concrete wall. And that punched the wheel back into the, punched the wheel up against the floor of the cockpit, which also punched the pedals up, and that's what really hurt. Foot brace for the left foot was moved back 6-7 inches, I'd say. Certainly it was 3 or 4 inches closer to the driver than the pedals are, and that would not normally be the case. Well, there's Tarquini going down the inside of Larini again. Hits the wall and Larini bounces up in the air. Nicola's rejoined right down at the back of the order. Tarquini's car, I think, is probably not going anywhere fast. And Banani, not a good move. Took himself and a fellow independent out of the race, and Lord knows both of them need every penny of budget they can get. And they did not need that incident. Well, this, I'm sure, is Larini allowing Huff to get through, whether he inaugurated the move or whether Huff started the move with a good run out of the chicane, and Nicola had to let him go. Nicola was obviously trying to close the door behind Huffy before Tarquini got his nose in. Debris everywhere there, bits and pieces of independent Seat. Yeah, well, Larini's pretty much closed the door. Tarquini's on the inside though with nowhere to go. He's trying to stay away from the wall, but the two make contact. He can't turn. Well, Peter Huff and in the background Wayne Brennan will be disappointed to have lost one of their cars. Menu, they lost in race 1 as well. So Huffy, who was in second place in race 1, now in 6th position. A lot of Seats in front of him now, behind the safety car. Adding another lap, and we will go up to 12 laps probably, I would think. On board with James Thompson, the Lada Priora. Lada Priora is also the safety car here as well. It's a good chance to see what the road car looks like compared to the race car. Very, very different beasts indeed. If you ever needed any confirmation that a touring car is very different from a production road car, then you only need to look at the two side by side. And a cursory glance will tell you the difference even without livery. Then once you look inside, there's nothing that really bears too much relationship to the road car, apart from maybe the dash panel and the fact that it's got a steering wheel and 3 pedals. His car's based on production body shells, but the average production body shell will take about 400 man-hours to turn into a race shell, including this extraordinarily complex roll cage. That's just the building, not the designing of it. The roll cage designed to stiffen the chassis, to stop it flexing, to protect the driver in any accident. They do a superb job. We've seen some very big impacts already this weekend, and the drivers have all been well preserved by the cars. There's James's girlfriend on the pit wall. Thompson in 16th place at the moment, right behind Alain Menu. But his job this weekend is just to get laps on the car, learn as much as they can about it. It's not raced before, it's not run before, they've done no testing. Every lap here is solid gold as far as feedback from the driver and information for the engineers is concerned. And Jimmy and Marco Cavallo, his engineer there is Marco, who you'll recognise from the N-Technology days. They will be trying to drive on the development of this new Lada Priora. And James with his new bell with the air conditioning device. Only very nice if you've got a cut and blow dryer, a nice set. So good job there. He said keeps you nice and cool inside the car. So getting ready to restart then for the extra 2 laps added on behind the safety car. Race distance now from 10 out to 12 laps. And Augusto Farfus will have to make the best of this. Rolling starts favour the turbo diesel, so Farfus is going to have his wits about him to retain the lead here, and he had really better score and score big. All the sacrifices his teammates have given to get him into that position. Now is not the time for Farfus to have another moment with proximity and judgment issues. So up around the double left-hander. Now he's got to slow right down, allow the safety car to get out of the way. What he can't afford is to be held up in any way by the safety car when he wants to judge his own speed down through the chicane and for the restart. Good news for him is that chicane is in the way before they get to the line. Farfus then, ahead of Rydell, Genet, Ivan Muller, Montero, Huff, Prio and Jörgmuller. Prio and Jörgmuller up into the top 8 as a result of the collision in front of Tarquini and Larini. So they are finally in the points. Daste 9th leads the independents ahead of Zanardi. Then Portero is 11th, second Indy, ahead of Engstler, Poulsen and Coronel shuffle to the back of the queue. Going green again then at the line. Augusto Farfus leads them away, completes 5 laps of the race. Rydell, Genet, Ivan Muller, Thiago Montero, then the first of the Chevrolets, the blue car of Rob Huff. Huff has got Prio and Jörg Muller right behind him, so he's going to have a tough time. Trying to get by all 4 Seats is going to be hardly the work of a moment. Nicola Larini comes down pit road from the back of the train. I sense that his race is over. Alain Menu in 15th place had a similar sinking sensation halfway round the damp lap 1 of race 1, courtesy of Augusto Farfus, who ran into the back of him at the top of the hill at the end of the long Avenida de Boavista, punted him into the tyres and triggered a multi-car shunt. Farfus this time with nobody in front of him, and that's the way it must stay. All 4 Seats, 4 of the 5 Seats, the only 4 remaining of course, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Now for Ivan Muller, even more important that he forces his way or his will on Genet and Rydell and moves up to 2nd place. With Tarquini not scoring, it's vital for Ivan. Whether the team will now say, guys, come on, let him through or not, I'm not sure. I think they must. If Farfus, their closest rival from BMW, is in front, I think they need to sacrifice Rydell and Genet, who will not win the championship for them this year, that much is certain, and allow Ivan Muller to get through and lose only 4 points to Farfus. Lose only 2 points to Farfus if he moved up to 2nd place, and he's got the opportunity to do so. Got plenty of tail gunners behind him. Montero will hold off Huff as we ride with Huff. There's the danger. Andy Prio and Jörg Muller right behind. Then the yellow and white BMW of Stefano D'Aste. He's in front of Alex Zanardi, Felix Portero, a long BMW train, but they're following the front-wheel drive cars here. Been really quite galling for the others to try and deal with the turbo diesel Seats here. This is perfect, like Marrakesh was for the turbo diesels. Slow corner, hit the turbo boost, whoosh, you pull away from your rivals. Well, Farfus is making his escape, isn't he? 1.7 seconds ahead of Rydell. Fastest lap of the race goes to Augusto. 2 minutes 11.64 seconds on the last lap. Behind him, they're all in the 2-minute 12s, down to Coronel in 13th place, who's the first man not in the 2-minute 12 bracket. So those that slew of BMWs from Prio in 7th, all the way down the order to Engsler in 12th. 6 BMWs in a string there. Now, here comes the chance for Ivan Muller to move past. Jordi Genet pulling out, moving alongside. And Ivan, come on, get around the outside. Let me tuck back in. Thank you very much. So Ivan Muller is now up into 3rd place. Farfus can stream away as much as he likes, but Rydell, I feel certain, will give away 2nd place in the remaining half of this race to Ivan Muller. And Farfus, his chance of closing the gap right down on Ivan has whittled down to just a 2-point advantage potential. Diego Puyo diving down inside James Thompson. Tomo chatting to him between the races, he said, if anybody has a go at me, I'm going to let them through. I'm not here to fight anybody, we're here to learn about the car, and we can't do that if we're in the barriers. Rightly so. So Genet has sacrificed himself for Ivan, and now Ivan Muller up into 3rd position. Just 1 Seat remains in front of him, and the difference between finishing 3rd in race 1 and 2nd in race 1, a couple of vital points. Augusto 2:11.64 on the last lap. Rydell is doing his level best to stay with the Brazilian, and in fact he has closed, I would have thought, perhaps 1.7 seconds behind at the line last time. I think he might be closer this time. So Farfus 2:11.57, but Rydell, fastest lap of the race, 2:11.17, and Ivan Muller 2:11.78. So is Rydell trying to stay away from Muller, or is he trying to catch Farfus, or a little bit of both? A little bit of both, I would think. If Rydell gets into the lead, his thinking will be, will they really make me give away a win? It's only a win if Seat is in front. It doesn't matter which Seat, because Seat's prime concern is the manufacturer's, not the driver's championship. And I think Rydell might be right. Would Jaime Puig make him pull over if he was first and Ivan was 2nd? I'm not sure. With Tom Coronel right behind Alain Menu now on board. This is for 13th place. Coronel losing ground all the way down the order. Menu has got the pace surely to get in front of the Dutchman. The Seat driver will just allow him to go through. No point in fighting. Coronel's not going to lose any independence points there. Right behind him is Christian Poulsen closing up, and he is an independent driver in that Liqui-Moly BMW. So fastest man on the track is Rydell, and he's really opened up a big margin over Ivan Muller. Again, that was 1.7 seconds at the line. That's got to be nearer 2.5 seconds now with Huffing. Huffin 6th, Prio 7th, Jörg Muller 8th. They are the bit players really in the championship battle. Jörg 4th, Huff 5th, and Andy 7th in the point standings. Ricard Rydell 6th position. He's really the fallback position for Seat. So yes, if Rydell could get in front of Farfus, even if then Ivan Muller could get in front of Farfus, would they make Rydell pull over to give Ivan 2 extra points? That's a tough one to call. Maybe a tough one to justify as well, because for the manufacturer's standings, their avowed first intent doesn't make a difference which of the Seats is where. Now, of course, they want to try and do what they did last year, tie up all elements of the championship. Might not be possible. Farfus, fastest lap of the race now, 2:11.04 to Rydell's 2:11.71. So opening up the gap again out to 1.9 seconds. And Muller, 2:11.3, 4 tenths closer to Rydell. So it looked like the gap was opening up around the back of the circuit. In fact, it's closed down a little. So Muller is a-coming. And behind Montero, Huff, Andy Prio, and Jörg Muller, 6th, 7th and 8th. Bart Mampai there, Andy Prio's team boss. Not much they can do about it, I'm afraid. They've had to sacrifice themselves in race 1. It didn't go down well. And Kirill Ladigan going by James Thompson. Again, even though it's his teammate in the older car, Tomo out here to learn lessons for improving the new Lada Priora, not to have a fight with anybody. Well, to start with, every aspect of the car really needs addressing. This is the first time it's been on a racetrack other than just literally a tightness for fluids check. They did half a dozen laps before bringing it here to Porto. Had very limited running in testing and free practice with a couple of niggling issues. First clean running he got was actually in qualifying. So a lot of work to be done at the tail end of the field on that Lada. And out front, well, Augusto Farfus, if he's to become a champion, if he's to become a championship challenger, he has to be more like, well, more like Ivan Muller, more like Andy Prio. He has to limit the mistakes, unforced errors, as the tennis players refer to them, and there's been rather too many of them recently. Those have absolutely got to stop. You're not going to win this championship with a string of zeros. And behind the Chevrolet of Rob Huff, the white and blue Chevy, is the BMW of Andy Prio, and behind him, Jörg Muller. Again, Jörg won't exactly have been overjoyed to have to drop out of the points from a decent point scoring position and with a chance of maybe putting himself in the hunt for a race 2 win, but needs must, I'm afraid. Sky getting considerably darker overhead, somebody losing a wind mirror there. That'll have been Alex Zanardi taking the one off the red side of the car, the other side is green. On board with Huffy. Prio closes right up through the twisty stuff. That's where the front-wheel drive cars, particularly that first corner, front-wheel drive cars struggle there a lot with the understeer. As the race progresses, that will continue to be the case, and that will become more exaggerated. Flicking through this little left-right and then hard left, starting to climb the hill. Avenida de Boavista is not the steepest hill in the world, certainly not like coming out of Eau Rouge at Spa, but it's a long uphill climb anyway. Flicking through the central reservation of the dual carriageway and onto the other side, continuing up the hill. Parco de Ciudad on the left, and lots of big housing on the right hand side, and all those houses of course fenced in by the metal barriers, so once they've finished with the track action you have to let them all out. Engstler and Portero, well, Franz Engstler defended that one, or attacked there rather a little too long, and as a result Alain Menu will go around him for 12th. No, he won't. Oh, and that's a very costly accident. That's a big shunt for Alain Menu on the driver's side as well. Eric Nev looking at a lot of damage here. And now then, Coronel, I would think, might have stalled there. And maybe that's a problem. Maybe that's what Tom's problem is. Maybe he has lost the clutch. Augusto Farfus will head down to the line and be met by a red flag. Well, 3 to go in NASCAR terms. When they restarted, this would be a green-white checker situation. Menu out of what little remains of his Chevy Cruze. He's okay bodily, if not in a good frame of mind. Not much to be said about that, I'm afraid. That was a big shunt. Went around the outside of Engsler, stayed around the outside of Engsler. Lorini's car already in the pit lane. Lot of work for the RML mechanics to do before the next race weekend. Well, you can see Menu in a state of high dudgeon from overhead. Now, this is a little further up. Now, did we see Ivan Muller? We did see Ivan Muller go ahead of Ricard Rydell there. Yes, that's what that highlight, that helicopter shot showed us. There is Gabriele Tarquini's race engineer, not looking overjoyed. Charlie Lamb at Schnitzer, well, Augusto has survived a standing start and a rolling restart, and he is going to have to do it again. Alain Menu gratefully takes a bottle of water, but he's not going to get much solace from that, I'm afraid. Dear, oh dear. Brands Hatch, I was going to say can't come soon enough, but in fact it's a fortnight away. It may be too soon for the likings of the Chevrolet mechanics that'll have to comprehensively rebuild that car. Let's have a look around the outside of Engsler. Just the tiniest touch knocks him offline. Engsler wasn't giving an inch. And Alain, once he was on the outside there, well, there was no coming back. Coronel brakes to a halt, and I think Coronel had no clutch, and as a result, engine stalled. So Coronel may well, and that's why his car was there blocking the track. It was Coronel's car that blocked the track rather than Menu's, perversely. So, race suspended. Let's have a look here. This is where it started. Engsler trying to go around Portero. That was for third in the independence category. Clips the tyres. Menu has a run at him. This is with Portero. Engsler really fighting hard for that. Portero really had nowhere else to go. So, discussion between Schnitzer and Roal Motorsport. Friedhelm Knoll on the right hand side with the handlebar moustache. He's the man responsible for making the team calls amongst the 5 factory BMW drivers. Coronel out of his car in the background there, the familiar Dayglow yellow and red helmet, yellow and orange. So cars back down on the grid as in race 1. We have a red flag suspension of the race for clear-up operations with the track blocked. Eduardo Freitastar, race director, left with no option. So cars coming to a halt means teams have got to come back out, bring in the tyre trolleys and the tyre warmers, be allowed to use the tyre warmers but not any new tyres because race is suspended. Cars effectively in parc fermé. This is what triggered it all off. Engsler trying to take third in the independence category, didn't have the overlap he needed, gets out of the corner slowly. Menu with a head of steam, trying to go around the outside. Engsler in the middle of the road, really shuts the door. Well, in fact, no, in fairness, Engsler could not have been further right, because if he had, he'd have cannoned off the barriers and out into Menu anyway. Alain with a lot of speed, but with no room in which to be able to use it. So, very unfortunate race weekend for Alain Menu. Really not going well for them, I'm afraid, Chevrolet this weekend. And there is Hugues de Schoenack chatting with Ivan Muller. As expected, Ivan moving up the order. Now, whether Ricard let him through or whether Ivan found a way to get by, I think from the overhead shot, we pretty much saw it was the former rather than the latter. drink for Augusto Farfus. You know now, Farfus with double pressure. Championship leader right behind him. Cars on the grid waiting for some decision on when racing will continue. See the flat floor there under the Chevrolet. One of the additions to the crews to try and help it remain competitive, or help it become competitive. Not a great race weekend for Alain Menu. He'll be hoping for much better from Brands Hatch, a race track that he's always loved, at which he's been successful in the past in British and World Touring Cars. Of course, the scene in streaming rain, the first visit there of Chevrolet's first ever World Touring Car win, taken by Alain Menu. And at that stage it had been, what he said, was it 6 years or 9 years or something since he last won there, which was in a Ford Mondeo in the British Touring Car Championship. Well, for Ivan Muller, it's hard to imagine, unless he'd had a double race winning weekend, that things could have gone very much better for him. Jordi Genet looking overly thrilled with the situation at the moment. Alain Menu just trying to make sure that no extra damage is done to the car as it's loaded onto the truck. Well, moving on from here in Porto, in 2 weeks' time we will be at Brands Hatch in Kent for the British rounds of the World Touring Car Championship. Rounds 15 and 16 of 24 in this year's series. So if you haven't got your tickets for Brands Hatch yet, I sincerely suggest you do if you can get to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. First of all, it's just a stunning place to watch motor racing, and secondly, the touring cars will be thoroughly exciting there. Full support package as well. So it'll be a busy weekend. Moving on then, first weekend of September to Oschersleben in Germany as we approach the end of our European campaign. 20th of September, Imola in Italy. And then the flyaways, 1st of November, racing in Okayama in Japan. And at the end of the month, the series finale in Macau in China. And will we get there still with drivers in the championship frame or not? Well, that remains to be seen. Drivers getting... They, like I, have been told that the restart will be behind the safety car at 17:30 local time.
Progress. What can you do at this restart?
I don't know. I will do like always to try to keep my focus on the race and reach the finish line.
Just to clarify, you haven't taken second place yet, have you? You're still in third. Was this after the red flag?
When I passed Ricard, the red flag was not out, so I don't know what they will decide, if they take this result or the lap before. But when I passed Ricard, of course it was not red, because if that was red I would not overtake.
Okay, thank you.
Well, at least he wasn't imagining yellow flags anyway, so I think actually that he will probably stay where he is in second place. I can't see that they would deliberately move him back. I'm not entirely sure. Of course, that'll come from Stewart's reports on the corners. If they do deem a pass to be made under red flags. Well, that's the first corner. Good start from Ivan Muller. Shuffled his way in front of the Chevrolet and got away nicely. Aggressive bit of driving to get himself in front of Nicola Larini, and that is the change. Well, what can we see in terms of marshals flagging? Well, can't see from the helicopter shot, I'm afraid, there what was going on. Couldn't see any flags, but couldn't not see any flags either. Couldn't actually see any marshals from that high shot, just looking down on top of them. So once more, the Lada Priora safety car called into operation. And still reasonably bright overhead. Just another little break in the leaden greyness of the clouds. Looking down on the paddock. And support race paddocks on the left-hand side of your picture. Cars away at the start, and Ivan Muller really making a lot of room for himself, getting inside Nicola Larini. Larini did not get a great getaway compared to the Seat. It's very hard to start quicker than a turbo diesel Seat. So Augusto Farfus led, and Tarquini got trapped behind the two Chevrolets. It's Ivan Muller that makes the move that counts. He gets between Huff and Larini away from the start into the first corner. This is Montero's view of it. He goes inside Larini. Larini is then forced a little wider, and Muller comes down the inside into turn 2. Larini gets bumped out a little wider, and Huffy does well not to tap his teammate from behind and trigger a big first corner shunt. This is Huff's view. How close they came. Sensible driving there, and it had the added bonus from Huffy's viewpoint of keeping Tarquini out the way. Tarquini could not avoid Larini a few laps later though. Bounced inside the Italian and bounced him out of the race. And Mary Benani taking himself and Tom Boardman out. Boardman will be having a few cold sweats waking up with that one in his head. And well, at that stage, not sure whether Larini had let Huff through or had made a mistake and Huff had taken advantage. Either way, Larini wasn't fighting him hard. But as Huff tucks in, Larini's trying to close the door, Tarquini trying to open it. Two of them pushing in the same direction, unfortunately, out of the race. And Benani rejoining around the back of Tarquini's car, ill-advised, I'm afraid, very ill-advised, taking himself out and wrecking Boardman's car as well. Well, he is, again, a very inexperienced touring car racer. First touring car race was in Marrakesh, so it's his 4th touring car weekend. So those sorts of mistakes, well, they can be very costly, but they're also, to a degree, I suppose, understandable. Right, cars are down on their wheels. We are getting ready to get this thing back underway. It is now 5:28 and 20 seconds here in Porto. They will move off behind the safety car at 5:30. So Ivan Muller second on the grid. Well, can't argue with that. He was third in race 1, which means that he started in 6th position and has worked his way through his teammates ahead of the Chevrolets, and now only Augusto Farfus stands between Ivan Muller and a race win. Can the Brazilian hold off the French driver? Now suspended on race 11 of 13. 10 laps completed, so they have just started lap 11 now. So lap 11 will be behind the safety car. Laps 12 and 13 should be at race pace, which means we should have 2 racing laps once the safety car pulls in. Not a lot of time for Ivan Muller to work his magic, but he might do it from the chicane down to the first corner if he gets a good enough launch behind Augusto Farfus. This is going to be the ultimate game of cat and mouse. Those red frames on the fence on the right-hand side, incidentally, a lot of them down here, those are for the mechanics to stick pit boards out. You'll see them dotted around the entire length of the track as well, and they are escape holes. There's Kathy Muller, Mehdi Benani's team boss, the Hexagon Engineering team. You'll see them dotted all the way along the fence. It's somewhere for the drivers to head to if they get stranded in the track and there's no gaps to get out. You jump through a hole in the fence to get yourself the hell out of there, because there will be cars approaching fast. You don't want to be stuck in the track. There's nowhere else to hide. Leading off behind the safety car then, for the second time in this race, Augusto Farfus. Led from pole position, led away from the first of our restarts, and now leads away for the second restart. On lap 11 of the race, Ivan Muller in second place, Ricard Rydell, Georgie Genet third and fourth. Safety car lights are not working, so they are off now, which means we won't see them go off. However, the safety car will pull off at the end of this lap, I would imagine. No reason for having 2 laps behind the safety car. Safety car driver. Okay, well, he's got the hazards on. There you go. That's a start. It's something anyway. I guess Farfus will assume that the lights were supposed to be on, but just aren't. He will know that we are going green at the end of this lap. So actually he won't be too worried about what's on the safety car and what isn't. He will be anticipating a green flag restart. Kirill Ladigan and James Thompson, the last 2 running cars, 16th and 17th. Again, for Thompson in the Lada, just getting to the end. Wasn't a mark on the car at the end of the first race. For him, absolute and only concern is getting the laps under the car, getting to grips with it, finding out what else needs adding to the jobs list. So Charlie Lamb, the Schnitzer team boss, runs the BMW Team Germany outfit. Augusto Farfus, their lead driver, is on pole, or leading the queue. Jaime Puig with Ivan Muller, Ricardo Ardell, Jordi Genet and Thiago Montero, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. So even if Farfus can win this for BMW, they're still getting a pasting from the Seats, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Right, up to the double left-hander at Rua de Villanova. And then they will start to stream back down towards the start-finish line and the final chicane. This is where Farfus now has to really be cautious about how he paces this. If he misses a gear, and he has got a manual gearbox, don't forget, a normal H-pattern gearbox like you find in any road BMW, strengthened for racing, but the same mode of operation with the hand, as opposed to flippy paddle shift sequential or lever sequential. He has got to make sure there are no mistakes here. Slowing the queue right down. The safety car has got to be definitely in the pit lane before he starts his work through the chicane. And that chicane may be what preserves his lead. Because if they were running down here straight through to the first corner, I would fear for his preservation of his first place because of the get up and go torque of the turbo diesel. So we're going green now with 2 to go at the end of this lap. Completing lap 11 as we go green onto lap 12 of the 100th FIA World Touring Car Race. Augusto Farfus leading from Ivan Muller, Jordi Genet, Ricardo Ardell in 3rd, Jordi Genet in 4th, Thiago Montero 5th, Huff the blue Chevrolet in 6th, then Prio, Jörg Muller, Stefano D'Aste 9th, the top independent, and Farfus has done enough, I think, to get away. Unless he blows this on colder tyres than he's expecting, Ivan Muller is not going to force the issue, not going to try and force a pass. He will take 2nd place, but Huff right behind this Seat Q has got his brain fully engaged again. He's got his teeth into the job. Thiago Montero, he's going to try and get by and make a place at least and see what else can be done. Here comes Muller though, he's streaming up behind Farfus. Very close, but not close enough to make a pass. Again though, from here, going up the hill, the turbo diesel will pull like a train and Farfus will have to guard the back door into the braking area here. Turns off Avenida Boavista still with the lead, and Huff still in 6th position behind Montero. Prio and Jörg Muller still 7th and 8th. On board with Rob Huff. Thiago Montero right in front of us. In front of him is Jordi Genet. This is a little bit follow my lead around here. There's just not room between the corners to make a move. Unless the car in front essentially retires on the spot, you're stuck behind him. Rob Huff right under the back bumper of Thiago Montero. Thiago's rear-facing camera and Rob's forward one show there's very little between them. Drifting out wide over the brow, bouncing down the other side of that little rise. And you see them dropping away from Genet. Montero defending here against Rob Huff. It makes him slow. But Huffy, look, again, as soon as we get onto the throttle, down the hill we go. Huff being dropped by the turbo diesel Seat Leon in front of him. Farfus led Ivan Muller by a couple of car lengths at the line the last time. It's barely more than that this. 2:11.04, the best lap for Augusto Farfus. That was a 2:11.58. And there is Christian Poulsen. Now, where is he? He was in 14th place. That car crabbing very badly indeed. He's dropped down to 15th. He's lost another place in the independence category, so he's had a brush with the wall somewhere and whacked the rear axle out of line. But it looks pretty much sealed now. Augusto Farfus from Ivan Muller had a second advantage. Kirill Ladigan pulls in, and that'll move James Thompson up one position. Well, if nothing else, after its problems in free practice, the new Lada Priora has got some reliability. Farfus leads. There's Ivan Muller, Rydell Genet, Montero and Huff, Owen Creo and Jörg Muller, Stefano Dasti, the top independent rather. Second and third in the Indies, Portero and Engstler. Fourth in the independent category, still Tom Coronel. He was lucky that the red flag came out after he got stuck behind Alain Menu's damaged car, or beside it, or in front of it in fact. Huffy still trying to work something here on the tail of Thiago Montero. Thiago still trying not to let him. Fifth here, fourth place in race one. Not really most illuminating weekend for Thiago. At least it's better than the disaster of 2 years ago. Ooh, now then, that was Portero and Engstler at the back of the shot. How did that end up for second in the independence category? No idea. Have to look back at the end of this last lap and see how they cross the line. Well, Huff's not going to get anything out of this, is he? And at the front of the Seat quartet, nor is Ivan Muller. Augusto Farfus racing away down to the chicane for the final time. Comfortable lead, and he can only throw it away from here. Onto the brakes in plenty of time. Through the chicane, checkered flags await. Victory for Augusto Farfus, second for Ivan Muller, third for Rickard Rydell, and behind Zanardi, wow, Engstler comes through on his own, so Felix Portero drops down the order. The two got side by side and have clearly come together, and sounds like Portero has come in 13th place behind Tom Coronel. But our race 2 winner, the winner of the 100th FIA World Touring Car Race of this current generation, is Augusto Farfus. So the Brazilian was on pole position courtesy of finishing 8th in race 1. Sacrifices by teammates Andy Prio and Jörg Muller, which did not, it has to be said, go down particularly well. Put Farfus in that position despite his own mistake at the beginning of race 1 that cost him a drive-through penalty. So he is a very lucky boy. There's a lot of teams that would say, look, really, you put yourself down in the teens. There's not an awful lot we're going to ask the second and third placed guys in our team to do to help you. But they had to sacrifice a lot of points. So thumbs up from Jörg Muller. Not sure he'll be getting quite such a